What exactly is the Yellow Vest movement? And why is the mainstream media not explaining this? Hi, thanks for watching. Today is Monday, Mainstream Media Monday, and today I want to talk about the Yellow Vest movement, which is happening in France. Now, it's called Les Gilets Jaunes, which are the Yellow Vests. Yellow Vests. It's hard to say. And I have seen the mainstream media try to cover this, but I don't think that I have figured out what it is just by watching regular news reports. For example, the Today Show, NBC News, had a video this morning.
We're on the famed Champs-Élysées where thousands of Yellow Vest demonstrators are braving the freezing temperatures. They say the concessions made by the French president this week are too little, too late. This morning, the French capital is on lockdown. By now, a familiar Saturday routine. Yellow Vest protesters swarming the heart of Paris. More than 8,000 police out in force. For nearly a month now, angry protesters have transformed Paris's wealthiest neighborhoods into what looked like war zones. Their fury stoked by economic inequality and a president demonstrators say is out of touch. This week, he responded, offering to boost the minimum wage and agreeing on tax concessions. But these protesters say that's too little, too late.
Okay, that's enough. This is a 2-minute piece on NBC, and they don't even really explain what it is the protesters are looking for. I think that's kind of the main point. And this reminds me of many protests in the past where there will be some kind of leaderless movement and no one really explains what's going on. Even if we look at the article here, NBC, France's Yellow Vest protesters hit Paris streets for the 5th week. You read through the whole article, and it does state that it started off as a protest against the gas tax hike. But it doesn't really explain everything that they're asking for. At least the Rolling Stone has an article, "The French protests do not fit a tidy narrative." And it's long and convoluted, and I really don't think I understood it any better after reading the article. But at least they acknowledge that this thing is complicated. Well, I'm going to try to explain, or at least share with you, what some of the things that the Yellow Vest protest are asking for. And there's been this graphic floating around social media, official charter of the Yellow Vests, 25 demands to end the crisis. With any leaderless movement, you will have lots of different demands, and often it can get really complicated because you have people on the fringes asking for like really bizarre things. But this seems to be the most memed or the most shared graphic about the Yellow Vests, so I thought I would just go through their 25 demands. So the first section is economy, work. Number 1, general state of the tax system. Amend the Constitution to prevent the state from taking more than 25% of the income of citizens. Well, I think that's something that we could all agree on. 25% seems to be plenty for me. I think 25% would be a great tax cut. I would love to only pay 25%. But when you cut revenue from one source, you're going to need to take it from somewhere else. That's the thing, is we have all this stuff we have to pay for, whether it's the military, schools, roads, infrastructure, all these things that need to be paid for with taxes. The taxes come from somewhere. And if they don't come from income tax, if it's taken away from there, we then have to get it from another source. Now, with this Yellow Vest protest, I know that it started because Macron did cut taxes on the uber wealthy, and to pay for it, he eliminated a lot of public sector jobs. Well, the people didn't care for that. Number 2, increase of 40% in the basic pension and social welfare programs. I don't know what they're like in France, but that seems like an interesting demand. Number 3, massive hiring. Increase in public sector to reestablish public services of the RGPP, trains, hospitals, schools, postal services. Well, that would be a good thing to hire a lot of people for public sector jobs. I understand that. Number 4, housing. Plan the construction of 5 million rent-controlled housing units through HLM to lower rents and reinvigorate the economy with employment. Impose severe penalties for mayors that leave people on the streets. I think it would be a good thing. We definitely could ramp up the economy through building of rent-controlled housing. Number 5, banks. End the banking monopolies. Yes. Break up too-big-to-fail banks. Separate regular banking from investment banking. That's an interesting idea. Prohibit taxpayer-funded bank bailouts. Yes, I agree with this one. Debt annulment. Cancel debts accrued through usurious rates of interest. Now, I'm not sure exactly what they mean by this, but it probably has to do with ultra-high interest rates, such as payday lending and pawn shops and things like that. I know that here in Oregon, they put a limit to the amount that payday lenders and pawn shops and things like that could charge, because it ended up being, well over 200% a month, and it was insane. So it probably has something to do with that, but I'm not sure. Section 2, politics. Constitution. Rewrite the Constitution for the people and the interests of national sovereignty. Implement referendums to vote on of popular initiatives. It's an interesting thought. We have initiatives here in Oregon. They come up all the time where we have to vote on initiatives. Unfortunately, it's hard to be educated about all the different initiatives. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about having a nationwide initiative, but this is what they're asking for. Number 8, prohibit lobbying and vested interests from political decision-making. Permanent exclusion from the political life of any elective having a criminal record. Put an end to the accumulation of mandates. So yeah, I don't think if you're a criminal, if you have a felony against you, you should be running the country. Yeah, I would like to prohibit lobbying. I think lobbying is out of control. Number 9, Frexit. Leave the EU to regain our economic, monetary, and political sovereignty. Respect the 2005 referendum result when France voted against the EU Constitution Treaty, which was then renamed the Lisbon Treaty at a cost of 50 million euros per year. They want to leave the EU as well. Good for them. On a side note, I'm having an issue with the software that I record this with, and occasionally there's a video glitch. I haven't been able to figure it out. I hope to figure it out soon. I hope it's not too bad. Let's keep going. Tax evasions. Clamp down on tax evasion by the ultra-rich, recovering the 80 billion euros abandoned by the state each year to the CAC 40. Tax evasion is terrible. Like I said at the beginning, we need to pay for these things, right? Stuff. We need to pay for the stuff. And if the uber wealthy cannot pay by hiding things in tax shelters outside of the country, then it has to be made up for in other ways, such as taxing the common person. Number 11, stop the privatization of public goods such as roads, airports, parking, trains. SNCF. Renationalize these services. Well, yeah, I think that things like roads and airports, they should be owned by the people and not by a private corporation. Number 12, radar and CCTV. Withdraw unnecessary radars and video traffic monitoring, which is nothing but a tax scheme disguised. This is so true. In fact, we have that here in Portland. There's a road not far from me that has one of these speed traps, a permanent speed camera. And I just avoid it altogether. I no longer drive on that street because, if you're driving on a street every day and you forget one day and you go a little bit too fast and there you have a ticket for a couple $100 and then your insurance goes up, it is a tax scheme disguised. And I think it's great to do away with those. Number 13, national education. Remove all ideology from the Ministry of Education, ending all destructive education techniques. We shouldn't have ideology in education, and I would support that for sure. Number 14, justice. Quadruple the budget for law and order and put time limits on judicial procedures. Make access to the justice system available for all. Now, I don't know about quadrupling the budget, but it seems reasonable. Media. Break up media monopolies and end their interference in politics. make media accessible to citizens and guarantee a plurality of opinion, end editorial propaganda. Yes, that's all the mainstream media is today. I 100% agree with number 15 here. We need to break up these media monopolies and end their interference in politics because it is too much. Number 16, guarantee the liberty of citizens by including in the Constitution a complete prohibition of state interference in their decisions concerning education, health, and family matters. Seems reasonable to me. Section 3, health, environment, planned obsolescence. Mandate a guarantee from producers that their products will last at least 10 years and that spare parts will be available during that period. You know, that's an interesting idea. If you're going to have a product, you need to have spare parts available for 10 years. It seems as though everything is disposable these days, and I know for myself, I have had a piece of an electronic break and I can't get it repaired, so I end up just chucking it and buying something new rather than repairing it. And I think that this is ambitious and probably a pretty good idea. 18, plastics. Prohibit the marketing of plastic bottles, glasses, and other polluting disposable packages. Okay, I see where they're going. Number 19, pharmaceuticals. Weaken the influence of big pharma on health in general and hospitals in particular. Yeah, we should definitely weaken the influence of big pharma. I think that's something we can all agree on. Number 20, agriculture. Ban GMO crops, carcinogenic pesticides, endocrine disruptors, and monocrops. Now, I'm not an expert in this, but I would definitely want to ban carcinogenic pesticides. I don't know how I feel about GMO crops and monocrops. I don't know about that enough to have an opinion, but that is what they are asking for in France. Reindustrialize France to reducing imports as well as pollution. That makes sense. Geopolitical. We're almost there. NATO. End France's participation in foreign wars of aggression and exit from NATO. Okay. Number 23. Francafrique. Cease pillaging and interfering politically and militarily in Africa, which keeps Africa poor. I think there's a lot of reasons why Africa is poor, but this may contribute to it. Immediately repatriate all French soldiers. Establish relations with African states on an equal peer-to-peer basis. Well, that seems reasonable. 24. Immigration. Prevent migratory flows that cannot be accommodated or integrated, given the profound civilizational crisis we are experiencing. I understand this. Number 25. Foreign politics. Respect international law and the treaties we have signed. I think it's important to respect international law and treaties that the country has signed. This is something that all political leaders should agree with. Here at the bottom, these 25 proposals will immediately change the daily life of the French. The simple Articles 9 and 10 of this charter can bring up to 130 billion euros per year to the public treasury. That is Frexit and the tax evasion. France is a rich country. Its people are valiant and hardworking. They should not have to live in misery. I agree. The French people should not have to live in misery. I hope by going through this that you understand what the Yellow Vest protest is about. I think that I now understand it a little bit better than what I've got from the mainstream media. And my question is, why is no one in the mainstream media doing what I think is a thorough job explaining what this protest is all about? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Peace. My goal is 2,500 subscribers by the end of the year. You can help me reach that goal by clicking like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Peace.